There was a huge fire at Company X, where my husband worked. When I heard the news, I felt like someone had hit me in the head with a hammer. I was so worried about him. I immediately called my husband, hoping he was okay and had gotten out of the fire. The phone rang, and then I heard his voice on the other end. "Hello? Max, where are you? Are you safe?" I asked, relieved to hear from him. My voice got louder because I was so happy to reach him. Max sounded annoyed and said, "Why are you shouting? I'm at work, don't call me when I'm working." He hung up the phone right after that. I felt a little better knowing he wasn't caught in the fire, but his response seemed strange. "My name is Mona, and I'm 32 years old. I work as a nurse, and work has always been a big part of my life. I married Max 3 years ago when I was 29. We met through a friend and hit it off right away. We live in his company housing and are enjoying our life together. We've been married for 3 years, but don't have kids yet. I still believe we can have a happy family." Max is a good man, though sometimes he can be a bit self-centered. He shows me love, and I feel safe with him. Lately, though, he's been working a lot, even on his days off. I think he's just tired, so he doesn't pay much attention to me. After dinner, he sits on the couch, staring at his phone with the TV on but not really watching it. When I try to talk to him, he just gives short answers like yeah or oh. At first, I thought maybe I had said something wrong, but I decided he was just exhausted from his busy work, so I made sure to prepare healthy meals for him every day. Then, something unusual happened. A coworker asked me to switch my shift from night to day, so I had to tell Max that I would be working during the day. I planned to let him know, but I got busy and ended up sending him an email that day. I told him about the shift change and that I would make dinner and wait for him. But I didn't get a reply. He used to reply quickly, even when I was at work, sometimes with emojis. This time, he just read the message but didn't respond. I started to wonder if he was just busy or if this was normal after being married for 3 years. Feeling a bit sad, I went to the store after work and bought ingredients to cook a nice dinner for him. Since it was so cold, I decided to make a one-pot dish. I prepped everything and waited for him to come home so I could start cooking. He usually gets home by 7 p.m., but by 9 p.m., he still hadn't come back. When he finally walked in, I said, "Welcome back. You're late. Did you work overtime?" He answered, "Yeah, I did, but did you have to switch to the day shift suddenly?" I said, "Yeah, a coworker had an emergency, so I couldn't tell you sooner, but it's a bit frustrating that you didn't know until the same day. I might have made other plans, like going out for a drink." Max apologized. "You're right, sorry." Then I turned on the stove and started cooking. "Oh, you haven't eaten yet?" my husband asked when he saw me sitting at the table. "No, I thought I'd wait for you," I replied. "Well, thanks, but next time, you don't have to wait for me," he said. His words made me feel a little sad. I started to wait for the hot pot to boil. Once it was simmering, I served him a portion, then served myself. I was really hungry after waiting so long. As I ate, I noticed that my husband wasn't eating much. "What's wrong? You don't seem to be eating much," I asked. He looked a little confused and replied, "Oh, yeah, actually, I worked late, and a junior colleague bought me a rice bowl, so I'm not really hungry." I was frustrated and said, "Well, you should have told me earlier, before I made the hot pot." He seemed to notice that I was upset and said, "Okay, I'll put my portion in the fridge. I'll eat it tomorrow morning." He was trying to make me feel better. Then, he lay down on the couch, but a few minutes later, he suddenly said, "I'm going for a walk." "That's unusual," I said, surprised. "I haven't been getting enough exercise lately, and I've been working late. I need a change of pace," he explained. I felt a bit empty eating alone at the table, so I decided to put my portion in the fridge too. I felt like I'd eaten too much, and since my husband and I hadn't spent much time together lately, I thought I'd join him on the walk. But when I asked him to walk with me, he refused. He said it wouldn't be good for me to walk right after eating, and that he wanted to go for a long walk alone. He left to walk by himself. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, so I decided to secretly follow him. As soon as I did, I saw my husband walking briskly, clearly not tired from his walk. He stopped in front of a park that was a bit far from the house and started looking around. It seemed like he was talking to someone on his phone. Then, a car pulled up. My husband went up to the car and spoke to the person in the driver's seat. It was dark, but when I got closer, I saw a woman sitting there. She had long, curly hair and glossy lipstick. I was in shock as I watched my husband get into the car with her. They drove away together. I couldn't believe it. He was having an affair. I stood there, shocked, for a while. Then my husband sent me a text message saying he had run into someone he knew and would be home a little late. Someone he knew, out of nowhere, I thought. I didn't believe him at all. He had told me he wasn't hungry because he'd already eaten, but it was past 2 a.m. When he finally came home. He didn't even notice I was awake. He seemed a bit drunk and went straight to the kitchen to drink some water. From then on, he kept working overtime whenever I was on the day shift. We already had trouble matching our days off, but now it was even harder. Yesterday, he worked late, and today, he had to work on his day off. But I wondered if it was really work. Was he meeting the woman I saw that night? I couldn't stop thinking about it. I searched online for detective agencies and ended up hiring one to look into it. I felt guilty for spying on him, but if nothing was going on, I would be able to trust him again, so I decided to go ahead with the investigation. The waiting was awful. My husband was as quiet as ever, and every time I saw his face, I thought about the woman. I wanted to know the truth as soon as possible. Then something unbelievable happened. It was Saturday, and I was working my usual day shift. My husband was also working on his day off. I focused on my work, trying not to think about anything else. Suddenly, I heard fire truck sirens getting louder and closer. It wasn't just one truck, but several. There must have been a big fire nearby. I felt uneasy. Then, two of my coworkers came back from a hospital room with serious expressions. They mentioned the fire. Wait, the fire? I asked. Yes, it was a big fire at Company X, they said. My heart dropped. That was where my husband worked. I rushed to explain what I had heard, then called my husband to make sure he was safe. Please be safe, I thought to myself as I dialed his number. Even though we hadn't been talking much lately, I always saw him off when he left for work. I hoped he had gotten out of the fire. The phone rang, and to my relief, I heard his voice. Hello? Max, where are you? Are you safe? I asked, my voice louder from relief. He sounded annoyed and said, What's wrong with you? You're yelling. I'm at work. Don't call me while I'm working. And the call ended suddenly. At least he wasn't caught in the fire, but his response was strange. There was a fire, and fire trucks were there. He couldn't possibly still be at work. Maybe he wasn't even at work. And why was he being so cold to me when I was worried about him? I became angrier. Maybe I had been seeing him off just so he could meet another woman since we got married. I made a decision. I would leave. I started packing my things as soon as I got home. Then I checked the mailbox and saw the results from the detective agency. I decided to leave with those results in hand. My parents helped me pack, and the movers arrived soon after. My things were taken out of the house right away. My husband didn't know I knew the truth. He didn't try to contact me that night, and I figured he was staying with his lover. I packed up many of my belongings from before our marriage. The room was almost empty, looking so lonely. As I stared at it, I realized I had no attachment to the life we had in this house. For now, I moved my things to my parents' house and started looking for a new place to live alone. The next day, my husband finally called. Hey, what's going on? Most of your stuff is gone, he said. Of course I moved out, I answered. What were you thinking? When are you coming back? What about my food? What about the house chores? I was shocked. Is that all you care about? As I talked to him, I remembered the fire at his company. He wasn't even working, he was with his affair partner. That thought made me even angrier. Why don't you get another woman to do that, huh? I asked him. What are you talking about? He replied. You were with a woman named Linda today, weren't you? Huh? What are you talking about? I was working at the office. At the office? How long did you work today? It was a busy day. Even though it was my day off, I worked late. That's why I was surprised you moved out. Stop lying already. Huh? You lied about going to work, right? I wasn't lying, I was working. How could you be working all day when there was a fire at your office? Huh? When I called you, I heard fire trucks heading to your company because of a fire there. That's why I called, to check if you were okay. You told me not to call you at work, but you spoke like nothing happened. Well, and I have proof of your affair from a detective agency. You can't hide from this. I'll be handling everything through my lawyer. I'll make sure to get alimony. Oh no. He begged for my forgiveness, apologizing over and over, but I didn't care anymore. I had no feelings left for him. I'm sorry, but it's over. I'm hanging up now. Wait. I went to my lawyer and filed for a divorce and alimony. The divorce went through, and my husband couldn't avoid the consequences with all the evidence. He and his affair partner paid me a fair amount of alimony. It turned out his lover was a junior colleague at his company. The news of their affair spread quickly, especially since it happened during the fire. It caused a lot of anger from their coworkers. Now, both my husband and his lover are getting cold stares from everyone, and I think they deserve it. Meanwhile, I moved into a new apartment and am living a peaceful life on my own. As a nurse with a stable job, I'm not in a rush to start another relationship. I'm enjoying my own time and looking forward to meeting someone who's sincere when the time is right. She discovered her husband's affair because of the fire at his company, but he shouldn't have cheated in the first place. She would have found out eventually. He deserves everything that happened. Enjoy your life, Mona, and stay strong as you start fresh.